Homeschool Show from North Carolinians for Home Education. Our goal is to help you homeschool with confidence and joy. My name is Matthew McDill. I'm your host. This is John Lewis, co-host for today, and co-elf. Merry Christmas, John.
Merry Christmas. That was a horrible elf voice.
That was. I should have practiced.
Well, the hats look good, right?
All right, what are we doing today?
Today, we're going to have the homeschool news. We're going to talk about a Christmas story of what one homeschool boy did to bless some patients at a children's hospital. We're also going to talk about Homeschool Day at the Charlotte Hornets game. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I've never been to a Hornets event. It sounds fun. And then Homeschool Conversations. Matthew had a conversation with Steve Demme, the creator of Matthew C. And so Steve's going to give us some tips for teaching math.
Yeah.
One of my favorite topics, former math teacher. And then Homeschool Tip of the Week for this week is do not compare the academic level and pace of your kids with others. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to have a nice Homeschool Reality Moment with some more math content. A homeschool mom's going to share with us some of her favorite beginning level math tools. So, Matthew, what have you got for us in the homeschool news today?
This would be a great episode to share if you know people having interest or troubles with math, right?
Math anxiety, any of that stuff, yeah.
Okay, as John said, we're going to talk about what one homeschool boy did to try to bless some patients at Levine's Children's Hospital. And I'm going to share a couple of bits from a Facebook post from Levine Children's Hospital and the Lake Norman Media Group. During the holiday season of 2013, Merrick Cherwinski was born just under 10 weeks premature and was in the care of the neonatal team at Levine Children's Hospital. Merrick is now 8 years old, and he was looking for a way to give back to others. Then the idea of, quote, inflated joy was born.
Inflated joy.
I
love that.
You're going to find out what this is about.
I love that title.
Laura, Merrick's mother, said, he's always asking me about what he could do, how he could give back to the community, back to the hospital. We started thinking about what we could do, and since Merrick likes inflatables, the idea just came together. Wanting to provide children at the hospital the chance to enjoy the tradition of seeing holiday decorations, Merrick and his parents collected inflatable decorations and donated them to the hospital to bring joy to parents, their families, and teammates. Okay, here's the list, right? The inflatable decorations come in a variety of festive shapes and sizes, including nutcrackers, holiday puppies, Santa Claus, Rudolph, penguins, and more. Probably elves.
Yeah, maybe.
Through the month of December, these inflatable characters will be on display at Levine Children's Hospital in Charlotte to ensure all patients feel at home, away from home during the holiday season. Wow. So we just thought it'd be fun to share a way that a homeschool family is giving back and trying to do things to cheer up and bless other people.
That's cool. I can imagine kids in the children's hospital probably, they can't go out and see the lights. That's one of my kids when they were little. That was one of their favorite things to do, just get in the car and go drive around and see lights. So that's really neat.
Yep. Okay, the next item is the 4th annual NCHE Homeschool Night with the Charlotte Hornets. This is Monday, December 27th. So you're going to get great ticket prices, which are going to be reduced from box office prices. But you're also, when you come with the homeschool group, you're going to get these perks. Number one, the homeschool basketball players will get to play on the Hornets main court from 12:30 to 2.
Nice.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
All attendees will receive a free Hornets t-shirt and early admission VIP access to watch the pregame warm-ups with seats closest to the court. And that's from 4:45 to 5:30. Wow. So we've done this for 4 years now. The families love it. It's a great setup.
That's cool. That's nice.
Finally, the big news just for this show is that we now have the podcast recording, the audio version, available on all your favorite podcast platforms like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So go check that out. You might have to do some extra searching, but go find it and subscribe.
Yeah, make sure you subscribe because then that'll raise it to a higher level of visibility.
Yeah, easier
when we
to find.
for
That's
it.
right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, so today in our Homeschool Conversations segment, Matthew had a conversation with Steve Demme, the creator of Matthew C. And Demme Learning and Building Faith Families. He's got several different things he founded, right? And so Steve gave some tips for teaching math, and we're going to take a look at that video, that conversation, and we'll have some dialogue on that. So let's take a look now.
Math is one of the few subjects that's sequential in that it's like a Jenga game. It builds upon stuff you've learned in the past. So when you do double-digit multiplication, you first multiply the numbers and then you add the columns. So you might know how to multiply, but if you don't know how to add, you won't be able to do double-digit multiplication. Division, you not only have to learn how to multiply and subtract, you have to understand place value to know where the numbers go above the little box. So when I was teaching students geometry, it wasn't the geometry that was hindering them. They didn't understand their basics. They didn't understand fractions or multiplication. So the first thing to do as a parent is find out what your child knows. And when you start working with them one-on-one, let's say that you're the first-time homeschooler and you're working with your child and you come to something that you assume that they know and they don't have a heart attack. Just take a deep breath and just start asking questions and find out where a child is. So on the Matthew C. website, you can use this with any program as far as I know. Placement tests. But I don't really even need a placement test. If I work with a child for a while, I'll just start asking them some addition questions. If they know all the addition facts, then I'll ask them some subtraction. Then I'll get some multiplication, some division. You can pretty much just work with a child one-on-one, and pretty soon you're gonna zero in on where they need to just be shored up. Yeah, I hate to use the words back up because this is the one thing. We got the question last night here at the conference. They said, "My child is behind."
So that
you're never behind.
That comment gives you should be here, but you're not. That you don't want to avoid that idea.
Okay, so certainly there's national averages, and that, however, we're not a classroom teacher anymore. We're now one-on-one. We're called tutors, and any tutor, when you go to their office or they come to your house, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to assess your student. They're going to find out what they know. So people call me and they say, "My child's in 4th grade," and I says, "Congratulations." But do they know how to multiply? So when I wrote Matthew C., I didn't have any grade levels. But I also didn't put any numbers because we have high school students that have to go back and fill in some holes to get their foundation solid. But they're not going to do a grade 2 book or a grade 4 book. But they don't mind doing gamma or delta. So, yeah.
Gotcha.
Try to be tricky.
Good.
So assessment is number one, and then move at their pace. You don't have to do a page a day just because the book says do a page a day. Some guy that wrote that book doesn't know your kid. You know your kid. You're the expert on your child. So you watch their eyes and work with them, and pretty soon you're going to figure things out. You're going to figure out how they learn better. And yeah, moms and dads are smart. Yeah. And they're more motivated. Nobody's more motivated than a parent to see their child succeed. Yeah. So I'm more concerned about peer pressure among parents than among the kids, because then the parents might join a support group, or they might get a couple moms and they go start chatting, and my child's doing reverse polynomial division, and my child is figuring out how to regroup. It's okay. Everybody's different. Just move at your own pace. And where your child might have a weakness, you might say, you might have some other strengths. So
assessment and movement, move at their pace.
That's
good.
And only a tutor can do that. Classroom teacher can't do that. They get people breathing down their neck to finish the book in a certain amount of time. Very different environment.
Awesome. All right. So that was Steve Demme, the creator of Matthew C., and we're also going to give some other information. He's also the founder of Demme Learning and Building Faith Families, and the website for that is buildingfaithfamilies.org. Now, Steve was a featured speaker this year at our Thrive Homeschool Conference, and you can purchase the recording of his workshop called Fear Not, and your children can learn math together. Those are the two workshops at nche.com. So go on there and search for Fear Not and find the link to the show notes. Those things will help you out.
And that was one workshop. Fear not.
Oh, that was
you
the
and
same
your
one.
children can learn math together.
Oh, I thought
Yeah.
it was 2. My mistake. Okay, yep. So 1 workshop. All right. Now, our homeschool tip of the week, Matthew.
Yeah. So we're going to just work right off of this idea and some of the things that Steve presented there, which were really freeing and empowering. And so we want to suggest this tip of the week. Do not compare the academic level and pace of your children with other children. And he applied that to math, but we just want to say what a great principle for all of our subjects. And it's one of the ways that we escape the public school system and some of the expectations. There's a lot of stress and worry here. And before I hand it over to you, John, the former math teacher who can explain this to us, I just want to give this one qualifier. The purpose of this isn't to say, oh, don't worry about what your kids know.
Right, right.
And, because parents have to be diligent. The idea is you want to help your kids be as far as they can be.
Yeah.
And just be diligent to do that. But how do we make sure that we're not comparing, and why is that so important?
Well, I can tell you as a former public school teacher and as a former student, all right, that every kid's different. Right, every student is different. They have different abilities. They learn different things at different times, and that was one thing that was really difficult. So my mom was a math teacher, and when I took algebra, I was in the academically gifted program and all that sort of thing. And I took algebra in 8th grade, but I struggled. I had trouble with the abstract concepts of algebra and what's X? Well, you don't know what X is. You've got to find out. How do I find out? And so I just didn't grasp that very well. And I struggled to get through algebra 1, but then when I took geometry, I loved it. The visual nature of geometry, the diagrams and all that sort of thing, it really helped me. And when I got done with algebra, I aced it. When I got done, I went to algebra 2, and I thought, man, this algebra stuff is so easy. How come I didn't understand this before?
Okay.
Right? And so even as a student, I realized something changed for me.
Okay.
And later on, when I was studying education, I realized, as a visual learner, I struggled with the abstract. But once somebody gave me a visual representation, I was able to understand the concepts and then move forward. And then after that, it was there.
Okay.
So that was really helpful. But I've seen that with other students too. I know that teaching remedial math classes in the high school setting, the public school setting, just like Steve was talking about, I've seen students who, when it came down to it, they didn't understand multiplication, or they didn't know their multiplication tables, and they were depending on a calculator for single digit multiplication. And so I just really reinforced multiplication tables and memorization of those things, and noticed that those students would flourish after a while. But I also know that because students are different, certain students did well with me and not so well with other teachers, and vice versa. Some of the ones that struggle with me did really well under other teachers. And so kids have different personalities, they have different learning styles, they have they develop at different times. And I'll give you an example that comes from my own kids, not related to math, and that'll kind of drive this concept home. Because my educational philosophy changed over time as I began to think through this. And after we started homeschooling, it began to change. Because I realized that all kids are smart enough to get this. It's just that some of them are ready for it at different times than others. So my son, for a while, was struggling with his reading and writing.
Okay.
We thought that there was a chance that he might have some sort of learning disability because he was really struggling. His name is Caleb, and so he would spell his name Kaled with a D.
Okay, sure.
And we were really struggling to try to get that figured out. One day, my wife was praying about, God, how can I help him? Because he turns his letters the wrong direction all the time, 3s and E's and all that kind of stuff. And so my son loved Legos. And he could build anything out of Legos. You tell him something from the time he was 5 years old. You could tell him what you wanted him to build, and he could build it. No instructions. He could build it. She got down on the floor with him and started playing Legos. And she watched how his brain worked when he was constructing things with Legos. And she realized, Letters are Lego pieces to him.
Okay.
He's incredibly smart, but a B and a D and a P and a Q in print form are all a ball with a stick, and the stick is just on a different side or turned a different way.
Just turn it around, and
up or
it's the other one,
down,
yeah.
left or right. So to him, it was like a Lego piece. He didn't understand the rules of when it was a B and when it was a D, when it was a P, when it was a Q, when it was a 9.
Okay.
Because they all looked the same when he wrote them on the piece of paper. So he just thought he had to use that shape. So he was incredibly intelligent. Here we were thinking maybe he had a learning disability, when the truth was he just wasn't ready for that abstract nuance that maybe made sense to some other kids at that age. And so he was far from being disabled, right?
Right.
Far from having a learning problem.
So we're talking about
Yeah.
learning styles and paces and
Yeah.
ways of thinking that are unique for each kid.
Yeah, and so that visual, spatial development, I mean, he was probably far beyond some others with some of those things, with the manipulation of Legos and things like that. It really, made that obvious, but then some of those things that we think are simple,
Right.
he just
That's great.
he wasn't there yet. So what I learned from that, Matthew, is that something that seems like it's simple to me and that this kid should get this, maybe they're just not quite ready for that level of cognition in that area. But that doesn't mean they're not on track for how God created them.
That's right.
And the Scripture tells us that we're fearfully and wonderfully made. Right? God has a purpose in how He created us. So, anyway.
Well, and I think that this is very comforting. And so what we hope to do as we think about these examples in this tip is to relax,
Yeah.
to get to know your kid,
Yeah.
to pray about finding those keys to unlock, and just do your best to help them right where they are and know that it's going to be different for each kid. It's very freeing, very empowering.
Yeah.
We're gonna go into actually something very similar to this because we had a submission for the Homeschool Reality Moment from a homeschool mom who wants to share some of her favorite beginning level tools for math. So let's check that out and see how it fits in.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Jessica, and this is Havla, and this is our Homeschool Reality Moment for today. I'd like to share with you some of my favorite math resources, some things that we use to get hands-on with math so that we can understand the math that we're learning, understand what it really means and what it looks like. So today, what we're looking at is my favorite source, Cuisenaire rods. First of all, with the Cuisenaire rods, there's a number of books that can be used with the Cuisenaire rods. However, you can make use of these in anything that you're doing with math. So when Havla is doing division, she has 12 of the ones rods. Havla, let's divide those into 4 groups. She has 4 groups. Havla, how many are in each group? 3. So Havla, 12 divided by 4 is, that's right. Now, we also can use them for multiplication. So Havla, we have 3 what? How many are those? Those are 3s. And what are 3 3s equal to? So each color is for a number. The blues are 9s, so she can see that 3 3s are 9s. So even if you're not using one of these kinds of books that is specifically utilizing the rods, you can use them for whatever math you're using. The rods come in to play is very helpful. Another thing that's a lot of people have trouble really understanding is fractions. And what you see here is we have circles that are the same size, and they have been broken up into pieces or fractions. And so that helps them to see that's what a fraction is a piece of something. What is bigger, Havla? 1/2 or 1/3? Which is bigger? Find a third and find a half. Okay, we have a third. We have a half, which is bigger. A half is bigger than a third. Okay, Havla, how many, let's see, where are our fourths? Okay, how many fourths are equal to 1/2? Show me that. So she can take 2/4, lay them on top of her half, or across from it, and see equivalent fractions. So these have been really great over the years, even up into your junior high years of working with fractions. So I think that's a good example of how these different math tools can really help to see math and understand it.
All right. Thanks, Jessica, for sending that in. You can see how that fits into what we've been talking about here. As we close it up, I just want to take a couple of minutes and thank you for supporting North Carolinians for home education. I want to tell you a story that's very common right now. We moved in July 2020 into our neighborhood here in the Winston-Salem area, and met very quickly our neighbors just a couple of houses down. And they said, man, we're so glad you moved in. We have homeschool questions, once they found out what I was doing. I said, great, come on over. So they came over. Awesome. We had all these conversations. And they said, since the kids came home doing public school at home, they said, it's just been bad. And we've been really thinking about homeschooling. I said, great. We answered their questions. And they said, let's do it. They're praying about it, thinking about it. And they decided to go ahead and homeschool. They had a great first year. They loved it. They're starting now their second year. And one of the other great things was that the mom and dad were both working at home, which facilitated their ability to do this. And at one point, the boss called the mom and said, hey, you're going to have to come back in. And she said, I'm homeschooling my kids. So either I can work at home or I'm not working.
Wow.
And that was her commitment. And he said, okay, you can work at home. I mean, she called his bluff, I guess. But anyway, that's the kind of commitment. And the heroes of these stories are the parents who are taking the time to invest in their kids and homeschool their kids and take responsibility. Our mission is to help parents just like that, and so many stories just like that all over the state. Our goal is to help them homeschool with confidence and joy, and we do that in 3 ways. First, we protect their rights to homeschool in North Carolina. Second, we equip them with information and encouragement. And third, we connect them with other families and other groups across the state. And that's what we do. And your support as a volunteer, and in this case, your financial support, is really critical to our ability to continue to do what we're doing. So we want to thank you so much. And here at the end of the year, we're trying to close the gap on our budget needs. And so our goal for this year is to raise $20,000 so that we can end the year meeting our budgetary needs. And I just want to explain a common question. Why are you down $20,000? That's a lot. Just to give you the history again, in 2019, we, as a board, decided to hire a full-time executive director, which happened to also be me. So I am now the full-time executive director, and we took on a salary that was beyond our normal income. However, we had savings, and we've had savings, and we've not gone into debt at all. And so we're really hoping, as the organization grows and as we invest in the full-time staff, that we'll be able to increase our income and reach more and more families. We want to reach more families and continue to do what we're doing to equip them, to protect them, and connect them. And unless we have this kind of staffing, we're not going to be able to reach the other families. And so you can help us make that investment by helping us meet the budget needs for our expenses and staff salaries and things like that. And what's happening is, as we're growing, our income is now meeting our budget needs, which is really exciting.
That's great.
This year, we are ahead of where we thought we would be. And if we don't have to dip in any more to our savings and we can move forward, we're just so excited about being able to do that.
So maybe people should consider then a Christmas gift to NCHE this year.
That's right. So as you consider your end of the year giving, this is an opportunity to say, I want homeschooling to be free and to flourish and be a powerful movement in North Carolina.
Yeah.
And if that's what you want, that's important to you, then support NCHE, because that's what our goal is. That's what we're all about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We hope that you'll do that, guys. And we want to remind you, if you have videos that you'd like to share for the Homeschool Reality Moment, or you have questions or comments, any kind of feedback for us, you can reach us at thehomeschoolshow@nche.com. That's our email address. We want to thank you for joining us this week. And please share this with other people. Until next week, keep homeschooling with confidence and joy. And if you need resources for the Math You See or any of that sort of thing, make sure to check the show notes on nche.com. We'll see you next week.